and training, personal training. And I started just seeing, just like calling, getting closer with my pops. And, he was like, what the fuck? I just saw you last week. You're already gone already.
Right.
And, but he understood. And so, he was helping me find like gigs that I could do. And I get out and my mind was, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do. And I started working regular jobs. I was even sleeping in a car I got a job at a kickboxing gym. It was like a fitness gym. And I would sleep in the car, go to work 5 a.m. to 1, go back in the car. That was my whole life. And then I met a coach and I said, I want to fight. I want to fight. Because it wasn't that I wanted the violence and this and that. It was that I loved the atmosphere of being around, just constantly training and around guys that are bettering themselves, the camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And also, I wanted to put some honor on my name, man. I felt like I changed so much from that first little kid that went to the youth offender to now that I was like disgusted at myself. And I wanted to become like something that people could say, well, look at him, like look at that man right there. He's a fighter. So I got into kickboxing and MMA, did 11 amateur fights, and then my son was born in between that time. And, I kept fighting to show him, like he was a baby still, but I wanted him to see that's who your dad is, not who that guy was on, kicking indoors and stuff. And during one of my fights, a famous kickboxer from the 80s, I'm there, just my friend and I'm covered with ink. We were like, everyone else was like the Karate Kid schools are all like training for, and we're just us two convicts like there. And he's like, I need to know, man, who are you? I got to the championship amateur fight in South Carolina, and it was an amazing fight. I lost by decision, but it could have been one of those fights it was just badass. And he did an interview with me, and he's like, "Who are you? Like, who are you too? I've never seen just two guys come in here and just do like." I was like, and I explained it to him. It went viral, and that's how I got into it. And I kept fighting for a while. And as my brand took off with social media and other things I was doing with my training, I really just took a break from fighting because I felt like I've been fighting my whole life. And I came back for one more fight, hurt my knee, did a charity fight, and hurt my knee, but like. I accomplished. I got where I wanted to be through literal blood, sweat, and tears, and like the connections I made. I was able to become a GM at a gym, but I had a vision, man, that I knew that I could do this social media stuff. I knew that if I got and told my story after the first video went viral from just that interview at the fight of the kickboxer or the old school kickboxer who ran the promotion, just my story. And that's when I started to crank up and ultimately got to 1 million followers on TikTok, cranking up now on YouTube. And it's, I guess, one of those things where, like I said, that adversity, that pain, that suffering, like I was a piece of shit. I deserved to go to prison, and I was raising my hand for every situation. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, Freddie, that's so crazy. How does this, no, but I was going in these situations willingly. I was causing these violence, and I don't regret hurting any of these chomos that hurt women or kids like that. It is what it is. Like, it's a situation where you see on the news and you're like, man, if I could just be 5 minutes alone with that guy, but I was 5 minutes alone, and, so that I never regretted, but I put myself in so many horrible situations and so much pain, and so that I had to see why I was so angry, this misguided anger. And, as I matured and had a son, I knew that I had two choices, dude. I'm fighting. I have all this, and I have a business that's about to start thriving. I got, I'm a GM at a gym. I could take everything, all the pain, all the suffering, and knowing I went through that and become the best father possible, or just go back and do what everybody else does and say, oh, it's too hard, and go commit a crime and go right back. And, my son, everyone has their own spiritual beliefs, but I always feel like if you have pure intentions, no matter what you do, regardless of your past, as long as you didn't like do no sick ass shit, like you can have a change. And if you have that pure intentions, the knowledge, and you apply it, and I just saw my son as like, that was my second chance. Not getting out of prison, not everything else, not getting these like lucky and not getting a life sentence or whatever. It was seeing my son, this beautiful kid that I could guide, and it's like I went through this so he doesn't have to, hopefully. And I started really just getting into like my company, my brand, Viking Mindset, all that, and just being a father. And my dad unfortunately passed away, but I got to at least have that time with him, which was a blessing. And he got to meet, his grandson. And, a lot of things happen along the road where it tests you. And a lot of times it took a lot of time to get back to reality. Like, it was so hard to go from that world to a world. I didn't know anything about touch screens. Like, when I left prison, my cellie, Catfish, he's like, man, take care. And I was like, hey, man, what's your MySpace, bro? And I'll never forget his look, dude. He looks at me and he's like, come here, young man. Like, and I thought I did something wrong. He's like, let me talk to you. He goes, listen, man, I know you've been gone a long time and you've been a lot of confinement. Don't tell any women about MySpace when you get out. And I was like, I didn't know. And then I got out and I realized, like, oh, shit. And it took me a while because I had this, even though I had the discipline, I was training, but the fighting, it wasn't because I needed the violence. It was because it was something so hard to do that having to train and be in a camp, whether it's amateur, whatever it is, you're still, you know, battling, having that hanging over your head. You have to be the best version of yourself at all times. You know, you have to be in the best shape physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You can't be out drinking. So that's how I wanted to live my life. And I found other people that there weren't necessarily criminals or you know, they all had their stories, but they didn't have like this intense prison stories, at least most of them. And it was like I found people that are all training for a goal, to be the best version of themselves and study and train for battle, you know, essentially like amateur fighting, but still. And that opened up doors and everything just worked out. And I just stay with pure intentions and know that, you know, through all the suffering and it gave me a purpose that no matter what happens, no matter, I'm here for my son. There's nothing that can break me. Nothing on this world that can break me. Like I went through all that shit, from tattoo artists poisoning people to getting put in cells, to fight to the death, to almost getting life sentences, stabs, and Freddy Krueger. It's like, I'm here and my son's here, and you know, with the fights and my history, it's like, let's do this, man. And how I am, just being a father and providing and just trying to hope that I could show other people, like, look, bro, I was a fucking savage, fucking psychopath. And here I am as a good man, teaching my son how to be a righteous man, fighting in amateur fights and just trying to help people with pure intentions, man. And I try to tell people, if my fucking psycho ass can do it, just imagine what somebody that doesn't have to even go through a quarter of that bullshit can go through, you know? And that's where I'm at today.